Hi guys, we got Jan Ratheisky here from Team Xray. He will show us what to do exactly after the run. When he takes the car off the track, what does he check, in what order, and some tips and tricks also will be included.
Alright, hello everyone. I thought I had a more specific question which I can answer, now it's overall. So I try to explain whatever I do after each run, right? So let's say I have a good run, the car worked awesome and I made a good run. The good thing in this class is you don't need to do something, right? So recharge your battery and go again, have fun. But if you crash something, you should check a tweak, for example. This is a pretty easy way in this car. It's the same like what you do with form cars, with 112 or pen cars. I try to do it from this angle that you can see. So two things you have to do. First, you take your right height dots and check the right height. It has to be almost same left and right. If it's like 0.4 difference, mostly something in the car bent is the wrong word, it's just tweaked. So mainly, if the right height is not correctly left and right, you should do a couple of things which can eventually stuck. So you can untight and retight again the servo holder screws or the top arms. All of them can move slightly if you have a heavy crash, right? That's the first thing. After that, you check your car again, left and right, almost same. If it's 0.2, 0.4 difference, it's not a big deal because the preload of the spring is many times different. The spring get used. It's more used on the right side, so if you absolutely cannot find why you have a different right height, left and right, you have to readjust the springs or change from right to left. And if your right height is different, then you know what's the reason. Sometimes it's the springs, very hard to find. Alright, what I do is then, I should say I do it after each run, but I didn't, but I should, is you put your car on the setup board. You make it race ready with the batteries and with the connection to the battery already, like you race. No sauce, but race ready. Okay, all the way. And then you just clearly lift the front of the car in the center. So basically, I show it very quick. You do it from the front and you lift the car. Right? I try to do it that you can see it better. You lift the car in front. And then you see which tire is moving to the air first, the right or the left, depends. So let's say your car is tweaked by the preload of the rear springs. For example, this tire moved too early and this after that, right? So the car is more or less tweaked that way. This means you have too much preload on this spring and not enough on this side. So you need to torque the car back that way. This means this tire is too high. This means you need to give more preload on this spring. So you tighten it up and you untight the other side. It's very important. Whatever you screw in this side, you have to screw back on the other side and opposite. Alright? So that's mainly what I do after each run. What's the next question?
Do you do any special preparation before also the run? If you check twice something that's really important to check, or just prepare the car and wait for the run?
Honestly, I prepare the car and wait for the run. I do not rebuild the tubes each day. I do not loop the front kingpin each run. If you want the very, very, very best performance, you should do it to make sure you have always the same amount of oil here in front on the kingpin, 10,000 for example. If you want to make 100% sure you have it always same, you have to do it each run, but in my mind it's not necessary. So let's say in Africa on the World Championship, which is more or less important, right? I did it each run, even there. But even on an ETS, which is on a pretty high level, it's good enough to make a dot of loop once a day. That's it. And the same with the tubes. It's absolutely not necessary to rebuild after each run. it's not leaking, it's no problem. Same in the diff, it's no need to rebuild it in each run or stuff like that. You just have to put, like, after each race, you just put a little more loop inside. That's it, a little bit more oil, because you always lose a little bit. Not a problem at all, but if you want to have it same for each race, 3000 in this case, I open it once a race, before the race starts mostly, and just make sure that it's on the same level as I used before. That's it. Nothing very special. This car is very simple still.
So basically you just prepare the car for the race, let's say for the weekend or for one day, and during the race day you only check if everything is okay. You don't change the oil, rebuild it every time, because you already did it, everything is perfect, fits. Of course, adjusting the car to the track condition, that's a different story.
Yeah.
That's completely something different. But the most important thing, what do you check after every run? So it's only basically tweak. That's the most important part in this car, because with bad tweak the car can go really wrong. There's no good loose steering, grip, everything. So basically, after each run, you check quickly if there's a tweak in your car, or
yeah, correct.
That's all.
Tweak, bending parts. I mean, if you tighten the screws correctly, they do not come off. So you don't need to check.
Yeah, that's right. So, any tricks and tips you would like to share with us about the X1?
Tricks and tips? Oh, we have many. We have many. I need a specific question for this. Let's say two things mainly. If you run Volante tires or sweep tires, you may have to run the white version of our kit settings, which is in the kit. You have like this thing. You have two versions in the kit, wide and narrow. Sweep tires and Volante tires, you mostly have to run white, the white option. So you use the inner hole here and the wider option on top. And if you run the hoodie or ride tires, or I think also Tamiya, but I'm not sure, you can use, or you have to use the narrow option in this thing. With the Volante you can choose, but mostly you should run white. With the ride tires or hoodie tires, you have to use the narrow option, otherwise you came over the maximum width of 190 millimeters. That's the one thing you could prepare at home. But yeah, that's it. Let's say a starting setting for the gear diff, for example. Indoor and outdoor, I mostly start with 3000 in the diff. And then I see what the car does, about the handling and how is the traction, and then I change to lower one or higher one. For the US, for example, you can use up to 30,000 or stuff like that on this very heavy traction carpet. Yeah, mostly I run the rear wing on the highest position to save the rear tires. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. And one very great thing, which is actually an option, is the new rear wing mount here. Now it's connected directly to the main chassis plate. So when you move the car, the wing stays flat to the chassis plate. And if you move the pot, you see the rear wing is still flat. This gives you a lot of more rear traction when you in corner, for example, the sweeper. Always when you are on high speed, or at least medium speed, and you have an in corner issue with the losing rear, you should try this part. It helps a lot. Actually, it's an option part, but it will be also included in the 2020 kit in a little bit different design. And we still improve this, but this system worked very good. Any more questions?
I think that's it. Really, thanks for your time, for your help and tips and tricks. Hope that this will help others to understand this class a bit more and will help them to achieve better times.
Yeah. And if you have any more questions, feel free to ask me or this guy. Come here, show your face. Or this guy. This guy spent a lot of time to make the setup helper, and big thanks to him as well. Good job, well done, thank you. And
thanks.
See you next time. Bye bye.